to the Culture of You podcast. Yeah. All right, and as you can hear, we are recording in front of a live audience, and this is where I have meaningful dialogue with some of my favorite people. And the Culture of You is a transformational storytelling platform, and this podcast is one way we do this griot work of sharing and archiving our stories. So first, let's give it up for our partner, Zora's House. Woo! Yep. We are at Zora's house right now. Zora to the Neil to the Hurston. And then we also have, the Purple Door Cafe. We're just going to take a moment because the Purple Door Cafe is no longer with us. And, it had a wonderful ride. And there was lots of great beverages that I'm going to have to try to recreate. But the Purple Door Cafe was with us for 6 of our episodes, and we love the Purple Door and what it stood for, and we are excited to see what's next here. So, but today we are accepting donations, and so we are going to keep accepting donations. So whenever you see this, we want those donations, and we'll talk a little bit more about it with the Cover Your Crown project in a second with our wonderful guests. But first, I do want to say for my team, though, 3E Multimedia is here recording it, so let's give it up for 3E Multimedia. Yeah. Project Net Solutions does our fireworks and behind the scenes things. Soul Dope ENT is your social media manager, and then we have the EXO Collective with experience and administration expertise. So yeah, we're loaded up. We got a team, and they're behind the scenes making everything look great. And I have a wonderful guest with me who I don't need much more than this to be great right now today. So my dynamic guest today is Keisha Glenn. She says lives a full life, and I honestly think that might actually be an understatement. We live so many different lives, but right now I'm going to list off some things that Keisha does, and then I'm going to let her get into it. But one, a bold and strategy-minded digital marketing aficionado. Like, I would give it that, because I've seen some of the stuff, and it's real good. Owner and director for K's and Clothes, right? All right, we got Regal Mindset, which is a platform, but it's also a podcast, LGBTQIA podcast. And then we have the Cover Your Crown initiative, but that goes to you're a member of an LGBT masculine centered Greek org. Yes. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, but that's one of those initiatives. You have professional experience working in the culture today as a federal employee. Yes. We said Navy.
I used to be a Navy veteran, but I do currently work for the Department of War, is what they're called.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. I'm so excited to talk to you about that. I didn't know it was that department. Okay, that's probably a weird excitement, but anyway, and the one thing that you said that I really love is that if it doesn't move people or make money, you're not interested.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that because, the money, it's like, okay, but then it doesn't move people, at least. Right. At least doesn't move people. Absolutely. All right. So I've said a lot of things about you. Of that, what is the thing that's like front of mind and front of center right now and living inside of you?
Service. Service. Absolutely service.
Okay.
Hands down. Yeah.
Hands down. Anything else? I know you're a co-parent as well with adult children. Yep. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you nailed pretty much everything.
Okay.
Yeah, and if it doesn't, if you didn't list it, then it's probably falls under something.
We're going to talk about it. Right. Okay, so first thing, so you're known for helping build wealth, helping creators build wealth without selling their soul. I love that line. Yeah. What's the moment you realized that authenticity could actually outperform that algorithm?
I think, and maybe this, had to happen for me as a federal employee, right? As I mentioned, it's Department of War now. Under this administration, it was very prevalent that this day job that I have should not be my only source or a portion of my income, right? I have other streams, but that's a big portion of my income. So even though I knew that I had an end date or an end goal in mind, even when I started with the federal government, I knew that there was other things that I needed to put in place before that end goal happened. Right. But I wanted it to be impactful, right? I wanted to obviously be able to serve in my community, both LGBT as well as an African-American woman. But I also wanted to show my kids, right, that, there's a lot of things that we can do to be able to give back, to be served, not just, your immediate community or your immediate family, but, other people who are less fortunate, which, again, also Cover Your Crown is a part of that. But that's where that came from. That's why I created most of the businesses that I have, to make sure that not only did I have another stream of income, but that those streams of income are helping and performing in the communities that I hold dear.
I love it. All right, we're gonna get to the cover of your crown in
Sure.
1 second, but I want to get this kind of out the way, but not really.
Yeah.
So the Department of War and also the Navy, like,
Yeah.
I feel like I can go there with you real quick,
Sure.
but like those are things that may be unorthodox ways of pursuing success and like
Absolutely.
getting yourself together, because there are options, right?
Yes.
So talk to us about how you got in the Navy and then how you get to the Department of War.
Sure. So, quick story, right? Long short. When I graduated high school, I actually went straight to college. I didn't want to go to the military.
Okay.
When I actually got to the military, after I wasn't necessarily making the money that this, new degree, they tell you, right? That's a story that these institutions tell you. Well, you can make this amount of money, but they don't tell you all the other things that go into that. Long story short, I was 24 when I went to the Navy, and I served almost 8 years. I think it's 7 years, 8 months, 13 days or so is what my DD 214 says.
I was about to say, that.
Right.
Like, that's, you like, I don't know, maybe.
On that piece of paper, I would not know. But long story short, again, I was 24 years old, so I was obviously a lot older than some of the people that I was in boot camp with. But, the resilience and the drive that I had in me, was totally to set me up for success and be able to give myself options in terms of another career path, right? They were going to teach me another set of skills. I was going to be able to travel, right? And I'd also be able to have and utilize that part of my experience to leverage myself into something better once I'm done, with my contract. So that's what led me to the Department of War. Now, there were some other jobs, Fortune 500 companies that I did work for, right? And they were okay, but there was always a cap. There was always something that prevented me from moving up or gaining another position, more money, more pay. It was always something. So, again, I transitioned, or I started, applying for, at that time it was Department of Defense.
Right.
And I was able to land a job in Defense Logistic Agency, which is where I work at now here in Columbus. I've been with them since 2016, I think it was. Okay. Great job, but it's not the end-all, be-all for me.
Right.
I am comfortable in my skin, and in other words, I look like this when I show up to work, cool. And that may make other people uncomfortable, and that's okay. And I'm okay with that. But, and we can have those conversations even, why I make them uncomfortable. But that was the journey, and that was the transition. So it was definitely, I think, my career in the Navy that helped me get the opportunity in Department of War.
Do you feel like the Navy also helped you stand with that and like just walk in and be you and like be like, if it makes you uncomfortable, that's the thing. Like, that's fine for you. It's not my problem.
Yes and no. I think there was a few things that happened in my Navy career. At the time, I was in Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which is a whole set of other issues, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So while they're not supposed to ask you, and they can form their own opinion, which is fine. I think myself, my own journey in getting more comfortable with who I am as a person, who I saw myself as, I wasn't living in my own truth. And even the female that I was dating at the time, she was closeted, and I explained to her, and I had a conversation with her, a very honest conversation. Listen, once I take this uniform off, I am not going back in the closet. Right. So I don't know what it is you have to do, how you have to resolve that for yourself and your family, but I can't do that. And so she and I were together a little over 11 years. Oh, wow. And when I got out of the Navy, she and I were still together for some years thereafter. And then it just got to a point for me where I was no longer comfortable in that space, and I had to make some changes. And so that's what I did. That, I think, that growth and that development from that experience with her and my time in the Navy is what allows me to walk into the Department of War, or DLA, comfortable, confident, and assured of myself that I'm supposed to be here and I belong in this space.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That is a lot of work.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I think that authenticity, and coming from someone who has had to not reinvent, but like has had to learn over and over again who I am, and as I evolve as well, that authenticity is like a non-negotiable for me at this point. But it wasn't always, you know what I mean? And so I've been in that situation too, where it's like, actually, I can't go back in the closet. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm going to live out loud. And I think that comes over time, but sometimes it does in relationships. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
But we got you a wife. You know, we're
Yeah.
good. You're good. You're good to go.
I'm happily married. Yeah.
Wonderful.
8
How long
years.
have you been married? Yeah,
We've
8
been 8 years this last September. So yeah.
Okay. So tell me about the family makeup, because I know you had some
Sure.
co-parenting stuff, and you've taught a lot of and talked to a lot of people about how to help and be a good co-parent.
Yeah, absolutely. So my wife and I have been together for 11 years, married for 8. And when she and I met, I don't have any children biologically. That was just not my calling. And I
Right.
say that all the time.
Same.
It's just not for me. However, I do co-parent with her. She has 7 children. They're all adults. The youngest, I think, is, I'm going to say 20 because that's the last number that I remember.
Okay.
But I think in February it'll be 21. So the youngest is 21. The oldest, she just had a birthday last couple weeks ago. And I want to say she's 27, 28. So they're all out of the house. They do come over when they're hungry, though. I mean, that's
never gonna
natural
stop.
progression.
I hope that
And that's
never
fine.
stops. Right.
That's fine. But yeah, so that has been a challenge for me in the sense that, you know, I tell people all the time, I kind of came in half of the game, right? The oldest was in the 9th grade. So I only knew, you know, them up until that point and not had any experience with parenting anybody past 6, 7 years old, maybe, you know, with previous relationships. So that was all new to me. And there was a lot of things I learned. There was a lot of bumps and bruises that she and I, my wife, or my partner at the time, even the kids, you know. But I think what we tried to do, just as a base fundamental, is create an environment where I understand, you know, that you're going to deal with things that I may not be uncomfortable with and I may not even understand, but trust that I can help you navigate it because obviously to get to this age, I had to have gone through, some of the things that you guys are dealing with. So I think that we did that in a healthy space, even with their fathers, you know, building those relationships and having blended families and blended events, and all of those things are important. We don't want to send you all out into the world where you're broken and you're going to go break someone else or harm someone else in a way that they're going to have counseling to recover from that.
Right.
So that was one of the biggest things that I stressed to my wife in terms of how we wanted to manage and to kind of cultivate that kind of environment in our home. That
Sounds like an emotionally healthy. I mean, and honestly, like we don't lead with that all the time, and so it can be rare that you have like a emotionally intelligent, you know, home.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a gift. Like we talk about that sometimes as generational wealth as well.
Yeah.
Right. Like the gift of being healthy enough to evaluate, be self-aware, be accountable, like all of those things.
Absolutely.
And that's really beautiful that you're doing that with them. So kudos
well,
to stepping
that comes
in.
from a lot of the trauma that myself and my wife had, right? So we had to face those demons too and figure out, listen, this is not something that I want to pass down, right? And how do we fix this, right? We're the first line of defense.
Yeah, that's enough.
It has to stop here, right? You know, so yeah, that came from a lot of healing and work that we had to do individually.
Yes. And so now you're also doing some workshops though and helping people. So can you talk about that evolution?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, as she mentioned, we have a platform, Regal Mindset. It's a podcast show. And up until this month, we used to do every Friday nights, 7 p.m. on YouTube as well as live on Facebook. And a lot of the topics that we cover, we really talk about the whole wellness of the LGBTQ community in terms of the family, the finance, as well as mental and physical health. So a lot of things fall under that umbrella. So either she and I, my co-host and I, will have those discussions and talk about things that are important to the community, as well as we bring on subject matter guests to help us navigate those conversations in a healthy way so that we can give them tools and things that they can put action behind so that they can actually do some difference or make some differences in their own homes and their own communities.
And we look like them.
Absolutely.
And that's the biggest thing.
Yes.
We look like them.
Yes.
So I do want to get into your Greek org.
Yes.
So tell us about this. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm familiar with it, but I'm also in the community. So
Sure.
tell me about your your Greek org and how you got there, and
Sure.
the identity piece of it about being masculine of center.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a member of Alpha Lambda Zeta Fraternity Incorporated, and we are worldwide. The last I checked, we had a member that was actually even in Singapore.
Love it.
So we're in most states, right? You can go to our website and check us out. How I got there, so let me back up a little bit. It is a masculine of center organization, right? So most of the people look like me, right? And that's, again, that's even a stretch, right? Because we have some who embrace their femininity, right? Which is totally fine. And then others who are maybe more dominant than even myself, right? We would say. So how did I get there? I think, again, it's a part of growing and growth. I'm 50 now. I just turned 50 in May.
We could just give a second for that, because that's like, that don't crack. It
Listen,
just not cracking
at all.
I mean, you've been doing some things, and it don't even crack.
Thank you.
Moisture, rise. We good. You know what I'm saying?
But the reason I chose a Greek letter organization, when I went to college, I went to the Art Institute of Atlantis in Georgia, and it's a private school, so we didn't have that, right? I knew I wanted to be Greek. I just did not have access to or knew that they existed, right? Where at least I would be comfortable. So in doing that, I did some research. There's plenty of organizations that have popped up since 94, 95. And I found Alpha Lambda Zeta, right? And what struck me the most, again, about the organization is the fact that even on all their social media platforms, they're giving back to the homeless and the youth, but they're also serving in the communities, right? And different levels. And that's one of the things that stood out to me. So here I am in my own personal life struggling with, okay, the pond that I'm in is no longer serving me, and I have to do something different.
And you're like up here.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So I have to push myself and challenge myself to do something. And how do I do that? How do I connect and gain access to other like-minded people? And that's how I found the organization. And they have been nothing short of that ever since, right? I've gained so many fraternity family members and extensions of families. I mean, it has been just when you find your tribe,
yes,
you really connect and you're able to elevate yourself in so many areas of life.
And I think that just speaks to your commitment to service. That speaks to your commitment to growth and development and healing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And if you're committed to that, there will be moments when you have to kind of separate.
Yeah.
If they're not as committed as you are to those things or at your pace.
Yep.
And so you all do the Cover Your Crown.
Yes.
So talk about that initiative. We got a box here. So we're gonna leave it here whenever. I think I'm gonna tell Tamale I'll put it on. Okay. We got a box here. And then we'll leave it here. But talk to us about Cover Your Crown.
So Cover Your Crown was actually started by one of the fraternity members out of South Carolina, Frat Recited. And she actually does it there where she lives in South Carolina, where they do volunteer on Saturdays, and they collect hats, gloves, scarves, and anything else that the homeless can utilize, and then they give it out. Well, I wanted to bring that initiative to Ohio, so I, of course, I inboxed her and I said, hey, do you mind if we do something on a scale much like what you have and just do it here in Ohio? And she was like, absolutely. So that's what we started, or I should say I started. I don't think we have another member here in Ohio. I think she relocated to somewhere else, maybe Maine, I think it was, or Massachusetts. Anyway, so myself, I go around to different establishments and different functions that I attend, and obviously I bought one here today, and we collect scarves, hats, and gloves, and we're going to give it out to the homeless. And so the tagline that I've created for this initiative, and we'll continue it on, is your extra hat, your extra gloves can be someone's only, right? Mm-hmm. So if we think about that, really, man, we can be very impactful.
Yeah, I need to go through my closet right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, if you can.
For sure. Are you like, if you can, do it. Yeah. I will. I absolutely am. So You've done this, you've done that, right? And so we have the fraternity, we have the Cover Your Crown initiative, and we have the service piece. When we talk about the LGBTQIA, wow, I've never done that before in my life. I used to work at the org. Okay. LGBTQIA2S plus. All right, so we'll give it that.
Sure.
And representation gets thrown around a lot. So from your vantage point, what representation still isn't happening?
I think that's a great question. We kind of touched on it, I think, on one of the shows we had maybe a month ago or so ago, in terms of LGBTQ spaces, especially lesbian spaces, where we're creating businesses and we're trying to be more impactful to our community, and there's a lack of funding, and most of the time the funding directly goes to the HIV and AIDS pandemic that they have. Not to say that that's not needed. That's not what we're saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is there's other causes that affect the LGBTQ community that we can be just as supportive of. And my co-host brought up a great idea. She's like, well, what other issues would it be, right? So one thing actually it came up, in that conversation was the incident that happened in California, where Tish Hyman was in the restroom and the transgender male came in and invaded her space, and there was a whole issue with that, the whole scenario. And you can have your opinions about the whole thing, but there's spaces that our trans men and women are not safe in, right? Still to this day, we're still having that. We just had an incident that somebody sent me an inbox maybe earlier this week about a trans female that was killed by her boyfriend. It's sad that we're still having this conversation about hate crimes against probably something that people just still do not understand. And I won't say that I understand all of the challenges and issues that the trans community is going through and they're dealing with, but that doesn't mean that I can't be an ally. That doesn't mean that I can't be supportive. That doesn't mean I can't stand next to you, right? And help you in whatever way I can.
Right.
So I think that's.
And I mean, I honestly, like, as someone who is really fluid, I know there's like binary trans and then there's like non-binary trans, and I think and so you have these layers where it's like LGBTQIA, we could say Two-Spirit, if we want to include the indigenous community. There's all of these labels and identities, and then when we get, if you want a hierarchy, whatever, but like as we get to those more nuanced identities, I think those conversations need to be had in those communities as well, and I wish we had more conversation about that along with race, right? Like along with gender. And I think the thing is like there's a lot that I as a Black community member can experience and be fine with, but I feel like there's a certain amount of resilience that I've experienced over my life that lets me be okay with different things where I don't think that there's been a ton of healing in certain parts of those trans communities.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it winds up being like we need healing too, like, or else we're just going to recycle the same oppressive rhetoric that we've embedded into us. So I heard you all talking about transgender folks and the legislation that is coming up and how that has even affected that. So when you have those conversations and people are inboxing you, how are you navigating that and talking about it?
So we've had several transgender men and women be guests on our shows about different topics. Atis, I think it's Artis, I forget her last name, but she was a military member, right? And she was transitioned, minus some surgery, bottom surgery. However, because of this administration, she was forced to end her military career.
Right.
So when we have those conversations, it's from a place of, of awareness, right? Bringing awareness and bringing attention to and having conversations, sometimes hard conversations, right? Because if I had not had that conversation with her and many of our audience members, we would not have known the things that she's dealing with, right? And is it any of our business? Some of it,
She's in our community, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
And you serve our country, right? So should you have to end your career because someone else doesn't agree with how you want to live your life? That just makes no sense to me.
It makes no sense to me.
And it never will. But, I'm open to having the conversation. It's just those kinds of things are what's important to Regal Mindset. Presenting a platform where people can have those kinds of conversations where they may not necessarily normally have or have access to it, right?
As an entire community,
Yes.
and just to give a shout out to the trans community, Trans Day of Remembrance was yesterday. It is November 21st right now, and that was November 20th. And there's Trans Day of Remembrance, which is a lot different from Pride, where it's just honoring all the people that have passed away, whether it be to completing suicide or whether it be to homicide and violence in that way. But those numbers aren't lessening.
Yeah.
Those numbers aren't lessening. And so as a community, as a whole community, what kind of conversations do you think that we need to be having, or that you're having, that we can go to Regal Mindset and see?
Sure.
Like, what kind of conversations do we need to be having?
Sure. I think we have to continue those conversations, right? In terms of what it is that they're actually dealing with, right? What are the pain points, right? And what solutions do we have already in place to help them kind of navigate those waters if we can, right? There's some things that are going to have to be changed legally, right? Or through the system, right? Mm-hmm. And this administration, I don't know that there's a lot that we can do.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that we can't have the conversation so that we can prepare ourselves going forward for whoever comes in next. Mm-hmm. But if we don't know what those pain points are, if we don't even begin to have the conversation. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes people lack the ability to extend the olive branch because they're fearful of whatever they say, may offend the other person. We have to get past that, right? Mm-hmm. If we do it from a place that's from love or of love, then I feel like, and I've always been, really receptive from all of our guests that have come on. They've been like, absolutely, I would love to, Yeah. So, yeah, I think they're just as willing to have the conversation. We just have to also extend it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So on your conversations, what is the most challenging conversation you've had recently?
Most challenging? The most challenging, I would think, again, it still goes back to this administration. Even outside the LGBT community, we have a president who really only likes a particular segment of people. And if you're outside of that group of people, it's really difficult time right now, and I mean, just so many different things. But I think that this administration had to happen for us to be able to say, you know what, when we were under the presidency of Barack Obama, right, some things changed. There were some happy moments, but perhaps we got too comfortable, right, and once you swing that
pendulum,
listen, it's gonna come back, and
right.
I think that's kind of where we are now, and I don't want us to get too relaxed in that and not continue the efforts and continue the fights, right? There's no fight that weighs more than another, right, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I think we just all have to figure out what's the best course of action, figure out who we can bring on as allies to be able to solve some of the problems that we have. But it doesn't go away by itself. No. We have to talk. And we have to talk to each other. Yeah.
Yes. Let's talk resilience a little bit.
Sure.
So I feel like as Black women and queer folks, we understand resilience. And we'll get up and do it again the next day. We know what it is. You might have a moment where you wallow a little bit and then you got to pick your face up, right? Yeah. What do you say to those folks that are newer to this conversation? Because like you said, it's only one type of person, one type of prototype that is, even advanced. I don't know if he likes anyone, but like at the same time, who is centered. So now it's kind of all of us in this soup of diversity, right? So, what do you say to folks that are like new to the conversation or new to the space of like having to put on that resilience?
I would say continue forward, right? Because the moment that you stop, then what tends to happen is people drop the ball. There's no attention on it. There's no spotlight. There's no conversation. There's no movement. Continue to have the conversation. Don't stop, right? But we've got to figure it out. Even if you don't have, I don't have all the answers, right? And my co-host will tell you, she doesn't have all the answers. But we're willing to bring people together to figure that out. And we can't use the excuse, well, it didn't work for me, or I don't have that experience, or that's never happened to me, or it's not at my front door. It's not at your front door right now, but it could be.
Real
It
soon,
very
actually,
could
right
be
now, real soon.
tomorrow, and then you're going to need somebody to help you with that fight, or help you with that initiative, or help you advocate for whatever it is that you need. So we have to be open and just keep pushing forward.
Yes. So another topic, because you're very fascinating in this
Thank
element,
you.
but like the family dynamic piece, the Black family. Let's talk about it. So the dynamic of the church, right? Like, so there's the church element of it. Talk through what those conversations have looked like and how you're navigating maybe church. I don't know. You have lots of young people that you're working with, as well as adults and people who are trying to heal. But how are you navigating Black family and church dynamics?
Sure. That's a great question, actually, and we've spoken about that too. Me personally, my upbringing, I was in a church. My grandmother's an evangelist, or she was an evangelist. Grandfather was a deacon. We were in church every Sunday.
Yep, Dad was a preacher. Yep.
At that time in my life, and when I was younger, I wasn't necessarily out. I was just trying to figure things out for myself.
Right.
But I've had conversations with other people, whether it's a church family member or just, in my travels or what have you, who have really experienced some very damaging church hurt, right? It could have been, from the pastor, or the congregation just not necessarily comfortable with them. Not necessarily preaching what's actually in the Bible versus what it is they want to project upon their congregation. It could be any number of things. I am lucky in the sense that I get my spirit of service from church, right? I'm actually a member of Cathedral Church of Praise out of Memphis, and one thing that we did consistently, like with no question, we always had service Saturdays, right? And we would give back to the homeless. We would give back to people who are less fortunate. We give back to families who didn't necessarily have the ability to have a decent Christmas.
Right.
So it really makes a difference. But I'm really sad and hurt by a lot of the people who did not have the experiences that I had.
Yeah.
And that happens. So it's unfortunate.
I got a few more questions for you,
Sure.
and then we'll run to the audience. But we've talked a lot about community, so I would love to hear, and I always try to give something like this to my audience, but I want to hear about your personal healing journey and, some of the ways that you've had to, like for me, it's like, I'm sitting quietly until 11 every day as much as possible. Like, right, I'm not interacting with folks or it's quiet, things like that. What type of things did you learn about yourself along your healing journey, and what type of tools were really helpful for you?
Right. I think personally, when my wife and I got together, I think I was in my 40s and she was I think I was 41, maybe 40. And it was a really huge adjustment for me to be able to kind of navigate spaces with her in terms of the co-parenting part, right? I had partners who had children before, but not with the level of responsibility that she allowed me to have in terms of, navigating these young people's life, right? So I had to take a lot of things into consideration in terms of how I spoke to them, how I treated them, not to interfere with, the other parent, right? So that was a lot of learning curve for me, and even her to be open to how I felt about things in terms of what we're dealing with them. She had to kind of bend and make accommodations there as well, especially from a person who's coming from a place where she's been the only parent in their life consistently since they've been born, right? So I think for me that was a big part of it, and then now on this side of it, as a co-parent of adult kids, they still need help. And I think my naiveness of just inability to not know is I thought, at 18, they don't need you anymore. That was the stupidest thing. Like, I don't understand.
You're like, you're good. You got everything you need. Send them on.
More now,
that birthday. Get out.
So Absolutely. They really need you more now, right?
Right.
They've never been 22, 23, 24, 25. So they need to figure out how to navigate those spaces as well. And since we've already done it,
Right.
whether we did it good or bad, we can offer you some insight in that. So me giving myself some grace, say, hey, if you screwed up 22, don't screw it up for them.
Right.
And give them the things that this didn't work for me. Don't, if I were you, I wouldn't do that.
Right.
And just offer those kinds of things to them. Whether they take it or not, is that's another story.
Right.
That's a whole other show.
Right.
But being able to understand that part, and again, for me, giving myself the grace to say, hey, there's a lot of areas, if you go back and look at life, where you maybe didn't do it correctly or the best way,
right?
Or you maybe not even had all the tools that you have now. So now that you do, make sure you impart that on them, and that even extends past not just the kids that we have, because they have friends. They bring other people to the house too.
Right.
So we extend that to them as well. So that's the biggest learning lesson. I have to give myself some grace, that I may not always have the answers. I may not always know the answers, but what I do know and what I have experienced, I can share that.
I love that, because I think the thing that can kind of separate those experiences, young people are going to make mistakes. They're going to mess up, and they should be able to, and not have it in their life or in their freedom, and so when we think about that, it's like a lot of times people don't know what a soft landing is. Like they've not been able to experience a soft landing, and you're literally an example of providing a soft landing so that if they do make a mistake, they can still come to you, and it's not like judgment, shame, and hellfire. You know what I'm saying? It's like, absolutely. Oh yeah, I did, me too. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, let's figure this out together.
Yeah, yeah.
So my next question is, I'm gonna do you like they do me.
Sure.
When do you rest? What don't you do?
That's funny. Actually, I do rest, but I am very regiment in the sense that I put it on my calendar, right. And I encourage people that I mentor the same thing. If you don't put it on your calendar, it doesn't happen.
Nope.
In the very morning, or in my morning routine, I have 15, 20 minutes or so where I'm just sitting by myself, right? I need to get my thoughts together, collect myself, before I start, working for anybody else,
right.
or even myself. And then once I'm done with work, there's 2 to 3 hours that I dedicate to any one of my businesses, and generally I'll rotate who that or what that time goes for. In the evenings, sometimes I'll have to take a meeting with my organization or a business right. partner or what have you, and those are all scheduled out. Even the night routine, I still schedule time with myself to decompress and figure out what the next day looks like. Even on the weekends, right? If I don't have it on the calendar, it doesn't happen. And it really doesn't. And it's just because life is going to life throughout the day.
Yep.
You have to be able to manage and navigate between those things that come up and what you actually have planned.
Once I learned the happiness of do not schedule, and I still miss. Some weeks I'm still messing up my schedule, and I'm like, I gotta fire my scheduler. It's me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta fire her. But that's what it is. So I got the chance to see you at a brunch last weekend, and you were working. Okay, you were working. But tell me about how you weave joy and humor and care in throughout all of the things that you're doing.
Yeah. So I have to be passionate about anything that I'm going to do. So again, I'm supporting my organization for a good cause. And right now, the homeless rate and the things that they need because of, not just because of this administration, right? They're going to be who they are.
Right.
But even outside of that, let's say if this was a perfect world, there's still a community that are in need. And if I have extra, I'm sure other people have extra. I have a lot of extra. Right. I give away a lot throughout the year. But this is an opportunity for me to be able to say, and to other people that I connect with, like even you were so gracious to be able to say, yeah, absolutely, bring it down.
Yeah, come on.
But yeah, I know other people that have extra. If you guys have extra, again, your extra could be someone's only. That just baffles my mind.
That's real.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. That we're still in a day where people just still don't have the basic needs.
And I think the world looks a lot different, and the solutions already exist, right? And the world looks a lot different if everybody has their basic needs met. that doesn't mean that people aren't still going to struggle with
Sure.
addiction and mental health and all of those things. Like, but it just changes the landscape. Like, we're all starting from a different space, and I think we're seeing the results of generations of people not having their basic needs met. And I think that's something that, we try to chip away at, moment by moment, activity by activity, service by service, but that's not always what happens. You know, that's not always the end result, is that people heal. Sometimes it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
But we say if we get one, then that's okay.
Yeah.
Then that's okay. All right, so I'm gonna get some questions from the audience. We got a mic up here, and we're just gonna ask Keisha some questions, and then we're gonna close out. But this has been awesome. I've enjoyed you so much.
Absolutely, great conversation.
All right, go ahead.
It's always me. Good morning, Keisha. Or is it
morning.
afternoon yet? Okay, good afternoon. My bad. Fellow military vet here.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service. Who gracious. That whole name change, don't get me started. I'm getting off track. So I think I'm taking a little bit different direction. But often now, when I'm in a community and I talk about having been in the military, right? There's always like a person who has a teenager, or maybe it's a young person I'm talking to, like, I've been thinking about going to the military, and I cringe a little bit inside. Like, I don't feel right being like, yeah, do it. Because, when I went in '88, okay, were things great? But they weren't now.
Right.
So I want to ask you, especially as LGBTQ
Sure.
member of the community, like, how do you navigate that conversation? Because, I don't want to be like, it's the devil, because, again, people are, going into hard times right now. And
Sure.
if it's a viable solution for somebody, but I want to be, honest with people. I can definitely share my experiences, but I also don't want to make it seem like I'm trying to make it be all, unicorns and rainbows, because
Right.
it's absolutely not. So I was just curious about if you're having those exchanges with people, and how you verbalize what you want folks to know about the military,
Sure.
serving now.
Right, gotcha. So real quick, I have actually my second oldest son. He was in the reserve for quite some time. He was in the Army. He didn't go the Navy route, so we're still going to keep him around. But it is what it is.
You said there's a shirt battle.
But my point in mentioning that is when he initially came to us and he wanted to go into the military, my only thing was to any of the kids, make sure you check out each of the branch. Check out all of them, right? If you can't make an educated decision if you don't know what any of them are offering, right? That was the first thing. Even outside of that, when their friends would come and ask, well, yeah, you've been in the Navy, what was it like? And that's my first thing. Second from that, you are writing a blank check to the military once you sign your name on that contract. You belong to them. Period, point blank. For however length of that time of that contract. So be very clear with what it is that you want out of this relationship, okay? For me, it's always been clear. I wanted to travel. I wanted a different level of education, right? And a different skill set. I got all of those things and some. And so I was fulfilled in terms of what I wanted out of that contract. There's a little money exchange too, so a couple bonuses, a couple, trips and things. Again, it wasn't all bad, but I will say it served a purpose for what I needed at the time. And then I also, thinking forward, wanted to make sure that whatever skill set I gained from that period in the military, that it was going to translate into civilian world so that I could still feed myself and my family, right? So that was important. And I tell any kid the same thing. Make sure you talk to all of the branches. Make sure you get all the information that you need to make an educated decision. And then once you decide if that's the route that you want to go, then make sure that you're getting out of everything that you want out of that deal. Make sure it's in black and white. If it's not in black and white, it don't exist. They didn't promise you that, right? If you want to go to college and get another degree, they're going to give you that GI Bill, right? Mm-hmm. That's a given. The fact that you want to create or get another skill set, they can definitely teach you that, based on what your requirements are. But those are the things that I always encourage any young person to get all of what it is that they want out of the deal too, because they're definitely gonna get what they want.
It's embedded in there.
Yeah.
A fun fact for levity, because I know you're asking me this question too. Yes. I almost went to the Naval Academy.
Hey,
Okay?
go
And
Navy.
let me tell you what the thing was that was my deciding factor why I didn't go. One, I would have to cut my hair.
That's it.
And I'm not going back.
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So thank you for your service. All right, next question.
Oh man.
Cool. It's on. First and foremost, thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
Something that I thought about was when anyone deals with some form of oppression, once they start to understand it a little bit better, the first thing they want to do, which is a great thing, is give back to their community. And I think also sometimes with our young people, they become so prepared and ready to do that, that it's a process that can lead to heartbreak because you really want to help, but you recognize that you may not have the same resources, the same funds, the same connections as a nonprofit or someone that's deep in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that what you're doing is fairly unique and no one else is really doing that. What words of encouragement would you have to someone that has an idea and a vision, but maybe hit that wall where they're like, dang, I really don't have everything that I need to make this happen the way I envisioned it?
Mm-hmm.
What words of encouragement would you give to a person that's in that space?
Man, you know what? That's a great question also. I would say that God only gave you that vision, right? And everybody else is not going to understand it. They're not going to see it. They're not going to see the path forward. They're not going to even see the positive aspects of what the possibilities could be, right? They're not going to see it. That was given to you. What I would say is to continue the path forward, right? Because that idea doesn't exist if you don't bring it forward, right? We wouldn't have an Amazon if there wasn't a Jeff Bezos, and he thought, we could do look at Amazon. They all listen. I have some business with Amazon.
Listen, it's very efficient and convenient.
Yes, absolutely. But we have to look at things. Everybody starts somewhere, right? And give yourself some grace to understand. Listen, there's going to be some trials. There's going to be some things. There's going to be some wall blocks. But you can navigate around, through, or whatever. You can get through it. You can get past it. But don't give up. The moment you give up, then that great idea doesn't exist. And we don't get to reap the benefits of it.
And I know you also do like workshops and stuff like that. I know I will, mostly one-on-one at this point or in the corporate space. But I'll have conversations around financial literacy with folks. And I think that's one thing that we don't experience a lot until we've fallen over all our credit scores, and then we're like, oh, here you go, here's the information. So I think what kind of workshops are you also delivering?
Yeah, so usually we do that around tax season, and the reason we did that, and we talked about it just briefly earlier before we started, a lot of people don't know or understand how currency should be moving, right? It's called currency for a reason. It should be moving. So they don't know what to do with that money when they get it back, right? And most years I don't get a refund, right? But some people do, right? And so kudos to you guys, right?
I don't know that life.
Right, I don't want to pay you.
Not anymore. I did for the first few years, and then it was like,
right.
No.
IRS, I'm cool with you. I'm not. We cool, okay? But I do want to say, what you do with that money is important, right? Because you can grow that money, right? If you're investing it, right, we can put you in touch with people who are really good at investing, right? If you are trying to start a business, we can put you in touch with people who have already started a business or are really good at that, and they can kind of help you navigate those spaces, right? So those are the kinds of things that we offer on our platform around that time of year, because you don't necessarily have to go out and buy that 50-inch television because they've got it on sale. If you buy an asset that creates income, then you can use that asset to buy the TV and everything else that you want, right? You just have to think about how money works. It shouldn't be sitting into a bank. Right? I would never have $20,000-$30,000 just sitting in my bank, right? I need that money working, right? And the more the money works, then the better off you can create your life for yourself and your family, right? But they don't necessarily, like you said, they don't necessarily have those conversations. I did not have that conversation in my house. I, like you said, I had to learn the hard way. I had to bump over and spend, overextend, and just all of and it was unnecessary. But when you're in a position where you know better, you do better, right? And fortunately enough for myself and my co-host, we are in a position where we know what should be happening, and we have contacts or people in our network that we can connect other people to help us be better and more responsible and accountable with that money. But that money should always be moving. It's currency for a reason.
Yes.
Period. That was a bar.
Yeah.
Because I love working, but I'm tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you talked about time blocking in your schedule.
Yes.
How does your wife fit into that?
So great question, right? And it actually hadn't come up. She is actually a CDL driver. So I'll give you a little bit of backstory about her. When I first met my wife, she did not have a driver's license. She could not get a driver's license. She had so many tickets and so many things going on. So she ended up coming full circle. I think she got her driver's license in 2013, 2014. And 3 years ago, she was able to achieve, she went to the training course to do CDLs. She was able to get, from the time she got her CDLs 3 years ago, she's got every endorsement. She has more endorsements than people who have been driving trucks for 25 years.
Wow.
Yes. So she set that goal for herself, and she went after it fiercely, and she was able to accomplish that. So to answer your question, when she is home, then I make her my priority. She was actually there at the brunch, last weekend. But then I think she left the next day. So when she does come in town, yes, we do spend a lot of time together because we're trying to make up. And then she only has like a few days. Prior to that, I was really good about keeping my schedule. I mean, she knew what time I would get off, but I wasn't as busy with all the other things I have going on now. And again, that came from, I'm trying to position myself that when I let this job go, when I clock out for good, nothing changes in life, right? If we still want a vacation, if we want to go buy cars, if we need other property, nothing changes for us, right? Because I've set those things already in place. So she knew that, and it was great that she's kind of gone so I can do that without having the guilt, maybe, right? Of
that works for you,
away.
Like that schedule. Yeah.
So, but it's not necessarily so much for her because she's not really one who likes to stay away from home. So, but she
got love on her extra hard when
yeah. So she's been handling that pretty good. Yeah,
I love
great question
that.
though.
All right, audience, y'all did it big with the questions. Those are some great questions.
I love it.
All right, well, where can we find you next, and what's your social media handles?
Oh man, you know what? I have so many pages, but let's start.
Tell them whatever you want. I mean, we can pause. People if you're watching the recording, you can pause it, click into it, put it on your little Chrome, and then, go whatever. So,
absolutely.
Yeah,
so
all of them.
I'll give you two. Find me on Instagram at The Regal Mindset. Actually, The Regal Mindset is on YouTube. Regal Mindset is on Instagram. And I'm also on Instagram under Better Life with Keisha, Keisha. And any one of those will point you to any number of other social media platforms that I am connected to. But yeah, that's the place you can find me.
Nice. And if you're interested in donating, obviously, definitely get on those Instagrams and send a message. And I'm sure we can get a pickup time arranged.
Yeah.
Or for a little bit of time, we're going to be here at Zora's house. But I don't know when we're going to turn this around. So, I might not be here. But at the end of the day, find Keisha and get her some coats and hats and all those things that you got tucked away in your closet that you haven't used for a couple of years. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being an amazing guest. And I just wish you the best. You're doing some really beautiful work.
Likewise.
Yeah.
I expect you to keep me in the loop of what you got going on.
Oh, you in the newsletter, man. You gonna get it. I want you around.
I want to help.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Peace, y'all. We'll see you next time.